everyone. Thanks for joining the CaFÉ webinar. My name's Justine Chappell, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager for CaFÉ. In today's webinar, I'll be going over 6 ways to further customize your call for entry. More specifically, I'm going to walk you through some special workflows or methods that you may want to use or need in your call. These are things that may not be very obvious in CaFÉ or may seem like extra features or things like that, but these are things that you can do that you maybe didn't know you could do. So we've got a little bit for everyone in this webinar, so I hope you walk away with something useful. The main key items that we'll cover today include configuring the jury for multiple image artwork, building application questions with conditional logic, setting up multiple fee types, collecting an additional fee from invited artists, using the roster status, and downloading individual applications. So let's just dive right in. The first thing we'll talk about today is configuring the jury for multiple image artwork. So just as some background here, in CaFÉ, maybe a typical artwork exhibition includes scoring pieces of art for display. An artist would upload one image of their piece of art. They might upload multiple images for multiple pieces of art that they're submitting. The juror then goes in and scores each image or artwork. Highest scoring artworks get invited. Pretty simple. But some exhibitions aren't that simple and they require multiple images per piece of art. So this could include sculpture calls where you need multiple images of a sculpture. It can include regular artwork that folks just want extra detail images for. There's many different reasons why you might need multiple images for a piece of art. CaFÉ does have a way to do this where artists upload, X number of images per piece of art, and they can apply X number of times with images for a different piece of artwork. And then the juror would score each set of images, meaning each artwork, by giving a score to each application that the artist submits. So this will all make sense as I kind of demonstrate it. Each of these kinds of setups I'm describing require a different setting to make sure your call collects and then presents those images to the jury correctly. So let me open up our Help Center to show you where you can find more information about this. So I'm logged in here as an administrator, and I'm going to go to the Help Center. And I'm going to click on jury types because that's what we're talking about here. And I know I go over this topic a lot in webinars, so I apologize if this is a repeat for you. I'm going to go kind of quickly through explaining it, and we'll demonstrate some stuff on the back side. So I hope that this kind of just shows a little bit what I'm talking about here and how you can accept multiple images per artwork. So what we're talking about here is the different scoring by art or scoring by application jury types. So as a quick definition, scoring by art is used when you need to select single pieces of artwork. This is the case where every image submitted by an artist gets separated into individual applications. This is used to select individual pieces, but only one image is submitted per piece. In scoring by application, this is used when you need to select individual artists with a caveat, and that caveat is basically what I'm reviewing today. But scoring by application is when the images submitted by an artist get grouped together into one application. It's used to select individual artists or individual pieces with more than one image per piece. There is an additional setting with scoring by application that allows you to let artists apply multiple times, for instance, multiple applications with new sets of images for each artwork. Again, I'll show you how that looks so you can get a better idea of it. If you're viewing it from the application, this is how it looks with the 2 different types. We've got scoring by art on the left, where let's say an artist submits 5 images like this, where it's 1 image per application. Scoring by application, on the other hand, is where you have 5 images in which each set of images gets turned into one entry, one application, because it's grouped together. And this is what it would look like with 5 or so images, however many you allow per application. So if you want artists to upload multiple images per piece, you will need to use the scoring by application jury type. So how do you do that? When you set up your call, you're going to fill out the new call request form. You're probably all familiar with this. And it's a form that just gets the basic details of your call so that we can fulfill that order and add your call to CaFÉ. So, you fill out this information. And when you get to this section here, how would you like to organize and jury your entries? You will select scoring by application. Again, this is for if you need to select pieces of artwork, but you want to have the artist submit multiple images per piece of art. So you'll select scoring by application. And then I'm going to skip down a little bit farther too, because the other related setting is the types of work samples. So this is where you're going to set your number of images to how many images you want per piece of artwork. Because we're scoring by application, the number of work samples you choose here is going to dictate the number of work samples per application, so per artwork. Let's bring in an example here. Let's say I have a sculpture exhibition call and I'm accepting multiple images from each artist, and each artist can submit up to however many sculptures they want. I think we'll set it to like 3 sculptures, but for each sculpture, an artist can submit 1 to 3 images, and optionally, they can submit 1 video. So let's talk about how this looks when you fill out the form. I know I want images and video only, so I'm going to click images and video. For my minimum number of images, I know I want at least 1 image to represent each sculpture, and I'm going to allow up to 3 images. For this optional video, I'm going to set a minimum to 0 because it's optional, and I only want up to one video per sculpture, so I can have that additional option there. And then for my total or overall number of work samples, this is where I kind of just do some addition here. I'm going to say, okay, I still want a minimum of 1 because I want at least 1 image. And then if they were to submit 3 images and a video, I would allow for that 4 maximum. So this is how you could set up the work sample. Again, this is all for however many images or video or audio samples you want per piece of artwork that is being represented by this application. And then, of course, I would fill out the rest of the form and submit the call request. And that's when the CaFÉ team goes in and adds it to CaFÉ for you. So let's go into the admin side for that specifically. So we'll go to our sculpture exhibition call, and I'm going to go to the call editor. And I'm just going to touch on some basic parts about this jury type that's going to help you set up the call correctly. So as I filled out that new call request form, my call will be set up as such. So one thing you just want to do is I'm up here at the event information page. I'm going to go to the jury type setting. It's on the bottom, kind of on the right. And I want to just verify that the CaFÉ team entered it correctly and it says scoring by application, just like I selected on the call form. If it doesn't, then I'm going to let the CaFÉ team know to change that because once the call goes live, we can't change this jury type. So you'll see here we can, we're set to scoring by application. And then because it's set to scoring by application, I can actually now say how many applications I want per applicant. Again, in this example here, applications means the number of sculptures. So it's going to say I want 3 sculptures per applicant. So I'm going to set that to 3 or however many you're allowing. You'll see that I can't go down from 3 because this call as a demo call, has actually already been opened and some artists have applied more than 2 times. So I can't decrease the number since that would be unfair. So, I can increase it, but I can't go down. Anyway, so it's set to 3. And so what you will also want to pay attention to on this page is when you get to your call details section here, in the long description or maybe the application requirements, it's best if you put in some information to tell the artists what they should expect when they fill out the application if you're accepting multiple images per sculpture. It's going to be kind of a different workflow. If an artist is used to an exhibition call where they're submitting all of the artwork images they want at one time, knowing that it gets separated into individual entries, this is going to be different for them. So public artists who submit, portfolios or sculpture artists, they might be used to this workflow, but you'll want to put in some information like we have here, where you're kind of instructing them, okay, you're going to enter 1 to 3 images per sculpture. Each sculpture must be submitted as a separate application. You can only submit 1 sculpture at a time. To enter an additional piece, submit a new application. You don't have to use that same verbiage, but that's what you can do to kind of describe the process that artists will take. And we'll also put this on the application form to kind of instruct them as they're selecting their images, which ones they need to select and make sure they're not selecting multiple sculptures at a time in this scenario. Again, if you need to change that jury type or if you're unsure about how to really configure it, just contact the CaFÉ team and they can help you out figuring out which jury type is best for your call. So that's all the information about the jury type on the event information page. Let's go to the application editor. This is where we enter the work sample requirements that you gave us on the form. Again, just verify that it looks correct. If you need to change them, ask the CaFÉ team. For the custom form questions, here's where we're going to want to add an additional informational only question to instruct artists on the application page itself to submit only 1 to 3 images and maybe a video for one artwork. So you'll see here I have one built out, and if I click on here's where I put some information about the media requirements, just as I did on the event information page, about letting the artists know that they can submit up to 3 sculptures, that they'll enter 1 to 3 images per sculpture, but that each sculpture needs to be submitted as separate application. So it's that same information, but putting it as an informational only question so that it appears on the application itself. And next we'll go over and look at the preview. So if I click preview call, I will be taken to the preview. This is what artists can see and how they fill it out. It'll look the same thing as it does to you as the preview as it does to the artist. So you'll see that, that informational only question will appear right here. It's currently at the bottom of the application, which is where I want it to be so that it shows right above the work samples section. And that means, so, as an artist fills out this application, they're saying, oh, okay, on the next section of the work samples, I want to make sure I'm entering 1 to 3 images per sculpture. So let's say I just come here and I would know to click, the sculpture images that I'm submitting for this particular call because I just want to submit 1 sculpture. I think I plan to show you this whole process on the artist side, so we'll just leave it at that for now. On the product editor, that's the other thing you'll want to pay attention to. The entry fee that you charge here will apply to each application. And because artists in this case are submitting separate applications per sculpture, you'll want to make sure you charge your entry fee, that this entry fee will be applied to each sculpture they submit. So if you don't have an entry fee or it's just $0, you can disregard what I'm about to say. Your entry fee will just be that $0 here. If you're accepting 1 artwork per artist, so it's simple, only 1 sculpture is allowed per artist, again, disregard this and you can have, however much is your entry fee set here. Or if you're allowing folks to submit as many sculptures as you're allowing, and each sculpture costs the same to enter it, so each sculpture costs, let's say, $15, you can also just leave it like this and set it to $15 so that every time an artist submits a sculpture, they're paying $15. Now, if you're accepting multiple pieces of art in which the first artwork maybe has 1 cost, and then the next or each additional all cost a different amount, there's a couple ways to do this. If you are accepting, 1 price for the first and a separate price for the second, the third, the fourth, all of those get the same amount, you can set up a new entry fee. You can set up to 2 entry fees. And so in this case, I might just put like first sculpture here. And let's say each additional costs $5. So I'll put in, the same description here, but I'll put in, second plus sculptures or second, third, fourth sculptures. So in this case, an artist can pay $15 for the first sculpture and $5 for each additional. The thing is that this system we have with the multiple entry fees would be based on an honor system. So the artist, when they first check out, they would have to make sure they correctly choose the $15 entry fee, and then each additional they can submit the $5. But you might have to go in there and confirm that everyone who submitted paid the correct amount. Because they're submitting separate applications, they have to go in and select those, different fees. The other option you have, if you don't want to do this, is to set your base entry fee here. And so I would just not have this additional fee on this product. And so I'd have my $15, but then I would go and I would set up a coupon code. So I had to create a coupon and I would create a discount for each additional piece. So I might just put like second sculpture coupon label, second piece, let's say it's $5 for the second sculpture. So I'm going to put in I'm going to discount $10 off. So $10 off. And just for the sake of it, second, you might want to do a better coupon code than that. And then I would set it to enabled, and then I would discount the entry fee, which is currently $15. So I would then go ahead and add that. And let's say maybe the third one's free. This is all just examples, but let's say the third one's free. What I could do is actually just discount, create a second coupon code in addition to this one, in which the amount is 100% off. And I would create one for like the third sculpture. So if they apply once with, full price. Second, they would use a coupon code to discount it $10 off. The third time, they could use a discount code to waive the entire fee, so it's free. Again, the whole coupons and stuff is also an honor system. If you really wanted to be tight about it, you could have artists come to you, and when they're ready to submit their second or third sculpture, and you see that they've already paid the first $15 or however much, you can give them a coupon code. It's a little cumbersome, I know that, but folks sometimes use coupon codes and put it in their call prospectus, and artists are usually good about using them correctly because they know that you might be verifying it and they probably can't be eligible unless they pay correctly. So those are the two options, either creating two different entry fees or creating coupon codes. Okay, so I will go ahead and show you the artist side just to show you how this is all going to look when the artist applies. I'll go kind of quickly through this so we can move on to our next topic, since maybe this doesn't apply to everyone. I'm actually going to I have it saved here. So as an artist, I'm going to go to apply. And actually, before I go, I want to go back real quick. If I'm really an artist, what I would do instead of just going straight to the apply button is go to more info. And I would read all of this through. So again, I'm reading through the prospectus, making sure I'm eligible. I would see this information we included about, okay, I'm going to be submitting separate applications for each sculpture. That's good. And then again, I'm going to apply. I'm going to, agree to the terms. I'm going to fill out all these questions. And I'm just going to quickly go through that. Again, like we saw in the preview, I'm going to say, okay, I need to make sure I'm submitting 1 to 3 images of just one sculpture. So again, this is kind of a bad example, but a detailed image of a sculpture, or you might have different views of one sculpture. But for now, we'll just submit these two. Click save. And then I can change the order as an artist to make sure that my detail image is second, but we look good here. So I'm going to go to ready to check out. And then again here, I'm going to make sure I'm paying the correct entry fee. Oh, this is a different call. It's only this call we're looking at here. So $15 per entry, and I just go ahead and pay. If there was a coupon code, and if I was on my second piece that I'm submitting, I would go ahead and see a coupon code box here, just like we see on this call that has a coupon code set up. But because I didn't click save when I showed you the setup, it's not going to show it up here. So because I'm just doing this for demo purposes, I'm going to enter a check and I'm going to pay this entry here. Cool. So we have submitted the application for that one sculpture. And now let's say I'm ready to submit another application for my second sculpture. I would go to the My CaFÉ Entries page and I would find my call that I just applied to. This is the one here. I can click on it again to get to the same page. And you'll see here we have the one that we just submitted, and then I can apply again. So that's the process. They go back and they apply again. You go through the whole process. Yes, I have one. I want to create a new one. I might have a different, some different answers based on, the different artwork. And I can do that. And again, I don't have the images, but if I did have fresh images for my new sculpture, I can submit another piece and just go through the process again. So that's how it looks on the artist side. When you receive those entries on the administrator side, you'll see that we've got those. This is the one I just submitted. Those images will be grouped together so that it becomes one application. And then when the juror sees it, they're going to give it that one score. So that's how you set it up with scoring by application as your jury type. And this is helpful if you are submitting, or if you want artists to submit multiple images per artwork. It's not going to be helpful for you if you let artists submit multiple images and your jury type is set to scoring by art, because like in this case, this would be on a completely separate application than this. And each of these images, even though they're the same piece, would receive the same score, or would have different scores, or be separate and not be able to be next to each other in the jury. So you want to make sure it's set to scoring by application. Again, if you have questions about your specific situation, you can contact the CaFÉ team and they'll give you the right recommendation for how you should set up your call based on what you're looking for in the end, or what you're looking for in how to jury. So the next thing you can do is to further customize your call is to build application questions with conditional logic. So this is how you can take it one step further to kind of advance your application. And you could do this for multiple reasons. Maybe you have an application where you have students applying and teachers applying, and you might have different questions you want to ask those folks. Maybe you have a public art call and you want artists to answer questions about the public art location, site location that they're applying to, but there might be different questions depending on the location. It could be any different scenario you have in which you have different applications depending on who is applying to your call, or maybe depending on what they're applying for. So let's use the example of a residency. Let's say for this residency, I'm going to have 2 locations where an artist can come. I have a location in Denver, which is where I am right now, so that's why I'm using it. Or I have a location in an open space in Durango, Colorado, where it's has a little more nature related, whereas the Denver one is more city related. So if I want to have multiple, different questions to ask the applicants, I'm going to build an application that is set up with conditional logic to allow for this. So in this example, I want a whole separate set of questions for the Denver residency folks than I do for the Durango residency folks. And as you can see here, we have set up different categories for artists to apply to either one. So when they get to the application, they'll select either the Denver residency or the Durango residency. So what I'll do is in the custom form questions, the first step to establishing what the applicant is applying to is to build a base question that asks, which one are you applying to? So I'm going to click build new question, and I'm going to select the radio button. This means that they have different answer options and they can only choose one. And I'm going to create an internal title, start with Denver or Durango. This is just for my own purposes. It's going to be a required question. And then let me copy and paste from over here. My question is going to be, are you applying to Denver location or the Durango location? We'll add 2 different options, Denver or Durango. And we are talking about conditional logic here, but in this case, we're leaving the conditional logic option off for now because this is the question that's going to appear to everybody. And so I'm going to click create question. And we've got that question ready to go there. Now let's start building out our questions for just the Denver folks. I'm going to click on build new question. Let's say I want, some information in a text box. My internal title, I'm going to label it with Denver first so that I know on the back end, what questions are for who. And I'll do, letter of interest. And I'm going to copy this question in here, kind of more describing, why would you want to be in the Denver residency? Maybe what connection do you have to the Denver community? And I can, in this case, what I'm going to do is turn enable conditional logic to on, and I'm going to set up a rule. So right now it says show this question if any of the following match. I'm going to click add new rule. Select a question. I'm going to select that base question that I made, Denver or Durango. And I'm going to say is Denver, because this is a Denver question. I'm going to say, okay, if they say Denver to that question, this question here will show. I'll click create question. Now you can just watch me as I build out a couple more questions for the Denver folks. Just kind of go through this a little bit quickly here. Oops, if I can type correctly. A resume, and there we go. Enable conditional logic. Show this question if Denver or Durango is Denver. You'll see we have now that additional question over here. But because everything's just going to be based on that one first question we made, I'm going to continue with that one. And let's do one more for Denver. we'll just do, this one, I'll do Denver, and this one's going to be called why. And so it's going to say, why are you interested in the city setting? And enable conditional logic, show, add new rule, Denver is Denver. Denver, Durango is Denver. Great. All right, so there's some Denver questions. Now let me just build a couple for Durango. And this is all going to be so that you can see it. And we're also going to ask them for a letter of interest, but it's going to be more, Durango focused. And I'm going to paste this into here. So this one's saying, why would you want to be in the Durango residency? And I'm going to enable conditional logic, select question. Denver or Durango is Durango, so that this can be for those folks only. And let's just do one more. I won't do a whole three, but we'll just select the Durango question, why. And again, this is all just for demo purposes, so you can build this out however you want. And Denver or Durango is Durango. All right, so we've built out those questions and we're all set up here. And we can see our label Denver, Durango. Actually, I might have accidentally labeled one of these wrong. Let me make sure that's correct. Okay. So let's head to the preview so you can see what this looks like. So again, this is what the application will look like. They'll select their category first. This is not that base question we did. This is just putting them so that when they apply, their application goes to the correct category. So let's say I'm applying Denver, put in my test art statement. All right, so you can see the application. We only have this question displaying so far. And if someone were to choose Denver, they can click on that and you'll see all of the Denver related questions open up. If I click Durango, all of the Durango ones open up. So this is essentially how you can create these kind of two applications in one, depending on who's going to be applying. And you can use this for any sort of setup you might have for your own call. You can set this up a little bit differently too, where maybe you do have some questions, maybe like that resume question where you need everyone to apply to that. So if I were to take my resume one, this is going to be for everyone. So I'm going to actually turn off conditional logic and update that. And I'm actually going to change the order so that it appears at the top, and you'll see why. So I'm going to update that question order, go back to my preview, and you'll see, Denver, Durango. Okay, artist statement. Okay, resume. Yep, I want a resume from everyone. Great. Now it's saying, okay, Denver or Durango, and that's where those questions then branch off from. So you can set it up in that sense where if you have questions for everyone, once you get to that branch point or that fork in the road, you can have that base question, and then every question preceding that would have, the conditional logic setting on. And when you receive those applications, you'll just get the correct answers for whichever one they chose and whichever questions they actually answered. And that's how you use conditional logic to set up applications or different applications. Conditional logic, there's many advanced ways you can use it where you can hide certain things, show certain things. They can be based off of, you can have multiple questions that trigger another question to open up. So, there's ways to play around with that in your own application. Let's talk about setting up multiple fee types. So another way to customize your call for entry is to set up multiple different entry fees that you'll collect from applying artists. I'm going to show you how to set up two different entry fees, maybe such as a member versus non-member fee. Maybe I'll show you how to set up media fees if you're scoring by artwork, and how to set up admin fees to sell additional products through CaFÉ. So let's switch calls again. As you've seen before, all the fee stuff happens in the product editor. So I'm going to go to the product editor. Okay, so the first entry fee should be added by CaFÉ, the CaFÉ staff, once you've filled out that call request form and you've entered how much you're charging. Again, just verify that it's correct. So like I showed you in that last example with the sculptures, you can add two different entry fees. So maybe you have a non-member and then a member one. You'll see here we don't have that second one set up, so I'll show you how to do that. We've got $25 for non-members. I want it to be $15 for members. And I'll just say entry fee 2 images to make it the same member. I can select entry fee here and then click add. And you'll see we got 2 entry fees. You'll see now I don't have the option to add another entry fee because you can only have 2. So remember, this is honor-based system, so artists will have to choose if they're a member or not and apply to the correct one. But you can mention that on the call information that you're going to be verifying everything, so you can make sure that artists submit the correct one. And then if your call is set up to scoring by art, which this one is, I know we've been bouncing around between different calls, but this one's set to scoring by art. It's kind of a standard exhibition. And I'm actually submitting, if I go to my work samples real quick here, I'm allowing 2 to 5 images, and that's it. Artists can upload 2 to 5 pieces of artwork, which is 2 to 5 images, and they pay $25 for the first 2 images because our minimum is 2. And they have to pay $5 for each additional up to 5. So that's when the media fee would be set up. $5 will apply to each image submitted above the minimum. So each image above 2 in this case. You'll see in our description, we even have it set to, images 3 to 5. And I'll show you on the front end as an artist what that looks like. So, for an example here, let's say an artist applied with 4 images. The total will be $35 for them because if they're a non-member, $25 for the first 2, $5 for the third, another $5 for the fourth, and that all equals $35. And if I preview my fees here too, I can see where it says, my images that I have set up against the entry fee setup, and that kind of just shows them to me at the same, where I know that my media fee applies to each additional above the minimum. The other product you can add on CaFÉ is an admin fee. So if I choose admin fee here, this is used to sell an additional optional product on the checkout page for artists. This is things for like membership dues. Maybe you're selling a catalog. Maybe you're selling t-shirts for the event. You can do that here. So let's say I'm selling membership dues. It's $100, and I can put in membership dues here. So if they wanted to pay for membership and then pay for the member price, they can do that. And I'll select my payment types and click add product. I can add multiple admin fees, so I can keep adding different products that I want to sell. Again, this will be optional for artists. If they want to pay for it, they can. Now, the other fee that we have available is called Other. I'm not going to go into this too much because it's going to be a part of a later section in the webinar. But the other fee should not be used for selling additional products. So if you need to sell, catalogs, memberships, use admin fee. Do not use the other fee, because the other fee is only used to select or to charge an additional fee from artists who have already been invited to the event, and it's a separate workflow. So leave that one alone for now. So again, the other thing you can do on the product editor, if you don't want to set up multiple entry fees, is to set up coupon codes. You can click create coupon and go back to that page. We've got a couple test coupons here, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. But you can set up coupon codes as well. So let's head back to the artist side. I might need to log in again. And I'm going to show you what this looks like to purchase everything. So if I were to go to this artwork, and I think I already kind of created an application for this where I've selected 4 images, just like my example, and I've saved it. It's actually going to be ready for me in the checkout page. Now you'll see everything we just built out. We have the member versus non-member entry fee. So if I'm a member, I can choose that one. If I'm not, I have to, make sure I choose non-member. Here it was where if I have a coupon code, maybe it's waived for me completely because I won last year's event. So it's waived, and I can click that and it discounts the actual entry fee. But actually, let's say that's not the case. Here, the media fee gets calculated automatically by CaFÉ and will be applied automatically. So because I uploaded 4 images to this application, the entry fee is for that first 2 images, and I have 2 additional images. Each will cost $5. So that's why it says 2 times $5. And just like I said before, my total will be $35. If I want to, I can click the membership dues, and maybe I can, switch things up and say, okay, I want to become a member, and that will all just total for me, and I can check out. So that's what it looks like for all those products listed. Again, you can have multiple admin fees to sell different things. Everything that is purchased by an artist will get listed on their application in their transaction details, as well as the income breakdown report that you can download from CaFÉ to see who paid membership dues or, to make sure everyone paid the correct fees. And that's how you collect multiple fee types from artists. Now we're going to go into talking about collecting an additional fee from invited artists. And this is using that other fee type that I described before. So let's go back to a different column. Let's say you have a plein air festival in which everyone who was invited to participate has to pay a participation fee in order to confirm their spot. Or maybe you have a workshop in which only those selected have to pay the workshop fee. Perhaps you charge a shipping fee for artists when you return their work to them after an exhibition. These types of scenarios create a different kind of workflow for charging fees than the typical entry fee setup in CaFÉ. Since you'd only be charging invited artists for this fee, we have this special option in place that allows you to do this. So I'm going to use my residency example again. This is a case, where someone's applying, they get invited, and then they have to pay the residency deposit, or maybe there's some little participation fee that the resident will need to do to confirm their spot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the call editor, and in the event information page, this is where we're going to set up this setting. I'm going to go to the additional settings section, and you'll see here we have the setting confirm invite and purchase due date. If I turn that on, we'll get a date here. So this is what it's saying. If I turn this on, it's saying, yes, I want artists to confirm their invitation after, their status has been invited, and I need them to make an additional purchase by this due date. So you'll set your due date to the date you want artists to submit their payment by. This date must be after the call deadline date, which is why I have it in the past here. It also needs to be after the jurying dates in order for this all to work in the end. My jurying dates are in the past, we're good to go, and my purchase due date is in the future. So I can save this section to make sure I save this setting. And then in the product editor, I'm going to go ahead and set up that other fee. So I'm going to say, let's just say, it's a short little residency deposit, small little residency deposit that I just need folks to say that they're committed. So I'm going to choose other, and I'll add that product. Again, only use other for this purpose here. So in order for this to work, the other thing that needs to happen, in addition to those settings I showed you before, on the event management page, anyone that I need to pay this fee needs to be in the invited status, like we have here. We have a couple artists we're inviting, and the jury status. So I'll go to jury administration. The jury status just needs to be set to complete. And we're all set there. So we're good to go, I hope. And let me go ahead. I'm going to show the artist side again over here. So this artist account has been invited to that residency, and they've been notified by the administrator, hey, you've been invited. Now you just need to go back to CaFÉ and pay this $50 deposit to confirm your spot. You'll see here, I have a lot of entries here, but this is the entry that I got invited to. My status is invited, and now I'll see this accept or reject invitation button. This is what should appear if every setting that I showed you before is set up correctly. I'll go ahead and click accept or reject. And I'm like, okay, cool, I got in, so let me accept my invitation. Select accept. Now we're taken back to this page. There's two options I can go from here. I'm going to go back to the entry, and now it says accepted. I went from invited to accepted. This is true on the admin side. You'll see artists go from invited status to the accepted status. This means they've accepted their invitation, but they have not yet purchased that additional fee. So I'm going to go ahead and click on purchases. The other thing I can do is click on checkout, but let's go to purchases. Again, ignore that other entry we had before. Here's our residency deposit. What I need to do here is enter the quantity. In this case, it's 1. If it's something where you're selling, like a booth at a festival and you need them to purchase multiple, they can enter a different quantity. And once I click out of that box, my total will be, $50 that I can pay. Then I'll proceed to checkout, and I will pay by check. I'll just do that real quick here. Submit payment. Great. And now if I return back to my entry, my status would be, oops, it should be confirmed. It might take a second because this workflow is a little bit different, but it actually should just be confirmed. Oh, I know it's why it's not. It's because it's awaiting payment by check. If I paid with a credit card, it would say, okay, I'm confirmed. But because I paid by check, if I'm an administrator, I'll go back to this side and I'll say accepted. I'll see that this person paid by check and that it's pending. But when I receive that, I can go ahead and click to received and then set this status to confirmed. So again, they'll go from invited. Once they accept their invitation, they'll go to accepted. Once they paid by credit card, they'll go to confirmed. If they paid by check, you'll have to manually put them there. But confirmed is where they'll need to land when they're done paying that extra fee. So I can go here and I can, make sure that they paid that deposit. So this is only used if you have like one additional fee that you need invited artists to pay. You don't want to do this if you have multiple products, like multiple festival booths that they need to purchase or multiple levels of participation. If that's the case, our sister site Zapplication might be best for you because this workflow is a special workflow. It's kind of an additional thing that we can do if you need it, but it's not really built in or it's not really, the standard practice. But we do have another platform you can use if you're interested. So that's how you set up that additional fee. The next special kind of workflow or customizing option is to use the roster status. While this isn't used that much, it can be helpful if you keep a roster of pre-qualified artists, maybe like a public art roster of public artists that you want to pull in for projects as they come up. Maybe you keep a list of artists eligible and invited to attend a residency, so you'll keep a roster of those who have a spot open for them at one point. Maybe after hearing about this status, you might have some other way you want to use this status that are not related to the standard roster status and why we created it. So I'm just going to show you how it works and you can use it however you want to use it. So how the roster status works is that you can move an artist here. I'm going to actually move this residency artist to the roster status. Once they're in roster, this means that after the jury is closed, and, after you've kind of selected the artist, but you put them in the roster status, they can actually go back to their application and make changes and update and modify their application without you having to give them special permissions to modify their application. So on the back end, we've got, someone in the roster status. Our jury status is, still set to complete. And if I go to the application form, I'm going to refresh this page. I've changed my status to roster. You'll see that even though the jury is done, I can modify. So I can come in here and make changes to my application. I can upload new portfolio images. So this is probably best used for those public artists who might have additional things to add to their portfolio and body of work, that when this public art entity or when this residency is ready to pull in a new artist, they can go back and they can look at new images, new artwork that had been created by the artist since they first applied. So, I can, change things here. I can save, whatever I need it for. I actually, all these additional questions I would need to fill out, but you can see that you can modify it. All you would then do is just save it. And when that gets saved, it updates automatically on the back end so that when I view this person, I can see all that updated info. So typically you would use the roster status if you're in pretty regular and constant communication with the artist so that they know when you'd plan on deciding on new artists and or like they know when to come back and add to their portfolio. So they can do it at any time, but if you say, hey, we're about to pull a new artist, we're going to jury some folks, go ahead and update your portfolio, they can go in there and do that. If you do want to pull in folks to jury them again to decide on who you want to pull in for the next project or the next residency, just make sure you put them back into received because only applications in received are visible to the jurors. So you can put them in received. You can head back to jury administration, put this into in progress, click save, at which point the artist would not be able to modify. This is the only case that they can't, and that's because it's this one here. The jury round is in progress. So they're saying, okay, I've modified it. Now the jury's in progress. If the artist gets selected, I'll go back to complete here. Let's say the artist was not selected. They just go back to the roster status for next time and back on the application form. They're back in roster and they can modify it throughout the year until the next one is selected. So a call in CaFÉ can be open for 12 months since you start it. And, you can put folks in the roster status. You can't, collect more applications after that 12-month period, but you can always come back and access your calls, whether it's in current or archived event, and you can go to that roster status. And as long as you have access to CaFÉ and your contract's renewed, you can have access to these artist applications and pull them in whenever or rejury your call. You just can't accept new applications after that 12-month call period. So that's how you can use roster status. Again, you can use it in the traditional way, or you can use it in a different way if you just need folks to make modifications to their portfolio or modifications to their application. You can do that. So you can use that setting we have with the roster status to customize a little bit further your call process. So this next item isn't really so much a special workflow, but it's something you can use if you have your own method for saving applications, or maybe you do regular record keeping or need to provide this for an applicant, and that is the ability to download one individual application. So in the events management page, we have the search by box. So what you could do is you could search for an application that you want to download. So in this case, I know the name of someone that I want to download their application and just their application. Depending on your call type, you might get one or two or more different entries for that search. You'll see that we have this artist, last name Danielle, and we've got 2 entries for them, and that's because they submitted 2 different pieces. But I really only want this first one. So what I'm going to do now is I accidentally clicked on it. I'm going to copy and paste this application ID number. All right, I'll just take it from there, go back. And basically what I'm just trying to do is manipulate this search results to only display the one application that I want to download. So I can enter that application number here, click go. Now this one application is showing. What I can do from here is click download PDF, click download applications. That will download to my computer. Once I'll select these options, I can do it as a juror, which makes that anything I'm hiding for jurors hidden on this PDF, or as just an administrator, I want all the information. So I'm going to click administrator, and I can open this PDF and show that I have this one application. It's just this one entry from this artist. And that's how I can download the PDF for one application. And obviously you can download it for multiple artists. You can download it for just certain statuses at a time. I actually just need to clear this all out. And I can download the PDF for all my applications. And when I open that up, that will have one application per page, and you can see all of them here. So some folks just like to take their review offline. So they just download the PDF and they can review them from here, or they can actually print them out if they prefer to do that. Or if you just want to just save all your applications to your computer for general record keeping, this is what you could do. You can also download any of those other reports that we have available here, spreadsheet versions or PDF versions. But to download one individual application, you can just search for them, get it narrowed down to that one application, and download the PDF, and that's how you would do that. That covers everything we were talking about today, the 6 ways to further customize your call. The question is, I can collect booth fees on CaFÉ. Yes and no. We would recommend not to collect booth fees on CaFÉ. You could collect one booth fee type if you just have like one purchase they need to make. So if you need to make, if every booth you have costs $100 and every artist has to pay that, you could set it up in the way I showed you. However, not all festivals have one booth fee. Okay, I guess if you have one booth fee for artists, then you could do that. And so if you want to talk through those and just make sure that everything else is suited for CaFÉ, feel free to reach out to the CaFÉ team and they can help you from there. But yeah, if you have one fee for each artist, you could do that. The reason why I'm hesitant about it is because that workflow isn't really prevalent or apparent to CaFÉ artists because they're not typically used to that. That's why our other programs, the application is just built in for that workflow. But with that, demonstration I just showed you, you can make it work if you really just have that one fee. So yeah. And then I have another question in the chat. If the artist is in the roster status, are they eligible for all calls, or do they have to apply for each call specifically? They would have to apply to each call specifically if you want them in that batch. So if you want to make sure their application is in that call, you would need to make sure they apply to each call specifically. If you have them submit to one call and they're in the roster and they can get pulled for a different opportunity, as long as that is apparent to artists and you have your own way of organizing that, where you're pulling in roster folks from one call, maybe for the opportunity that is presented in a different call. As long as everyone's on the same page about it, then I don't see why not, because the applications, once they come to you, you can work with the artist for whatever they are selected for. But if you do want their application in each call's set of applications, they'll have to apply to each specifically. This concludes our webinar of how to set up your calls in CaFÉ and use these different customized options. If you have more in-depth questions or questions specific to your call, you can contact us at cafehelp@westaf.org. Thanks again, and be sure to join our next webinar next month.